we really want people to use the past to make the future better. That's really our key goal. So we want people to think about some of the good things that Kentucky has done in the past and some of the mistakes we've made. So to think about those choices that citizens, normal people, have made in the past and how we can make better choices in the future. So it's really not about learning historical facts about Kentucky so much it is about what makes a good choice, how did people make choices in the past, and how can we do better. We are the Kentucky Historical Society, and we've been around since 1836. So this is one of 3 buildings that we operate in Frankfort. This is our headquarters where our artifacts are stored. We do a lot of school programs, but we also operate the Old State Capitol, which is built in 1830. That's just down the block from us here. And then up on the hill is the State Arsenal, which is an 1850 building, and we interpret Kentucky's military history there. So we also do programs all around the state. If you've seen a historical marker anywhere in Kentucky, that's us. And we also have a mobile exhibit called the History Mobile that travels around to every single county in the state as well. The Kentucky Historical Society is one of about 1,000 accredited museums in the United States. There are 35,000 museums total. So that means that we adhere to the highest professional standards, that we take care of our artifacts well, that our financial systems are defensible and intact, and that we do really good educational programming. So that accredited status is a real mark of distinction, and we're very proud of it. What we do is we preserve the sort of the past of the Commonwealth in a lot of different ways. And some of that stuff is things that belong to really important, Kentucky icons like Daniel Boone, and other stuff is very much regular people and shows their lives and how they lived. So the power of history is that we can use the past to sort of think about how people lived and then compare that to our lives today and think about how we want our future to be. So we think that Kentucky's history is absolutely vital, because if you don't know where you've been, it's really hard to know where you're going. And so we try to preserve that broad spectrum of stuff, all the way from famous people to normal people, and we really work very hard to make sure that we can tell those good stories. So for us and what we collect, it's not so much whether or not it has monetary value or if it's super rare, it's does it tell a really good story about Kentucky history? Can we use this to show people what life was like and get them to think about what the future could be? One of the things that we have, one of our iconic artifacts, is we have a pocket watch that belonged to Abraham Lincoln. And we know that he carried this during his presidency. And for me, it's really powerful to think about that Lincoln had this in his pocket. Like, this was close to his skin. This was something that he handled every day during the Civil War while our nation was being transformed. And to think about, that artifact being that close to that great man, it's a powerful symbol of history and its importance, and Lincoln and his importance. One of the things about museum work is it's a whole lot of attention to detail that people don't know. So if you think about if you have something and you put it in the wrong drawer in your room, chances are you'll find it when you're cleaning out that drawer later. If we put something in the wrong drawer, it could be years till we find it again. So everything that's in a little box has a box number, and each piece in there has its own artifact identification that's unique, so we know what it is and we can match it to its story. Because having the stuff is important for us, but really being able to tell the stories about it. So we have to make sure if it's the right hat, if it's the hat that belonged to Cassius Clay when he was ambassador to Russia during the Civil War, we want to make sure it's that hat because that story matters and it's not somebody else's hat. So everything has its place, everything is really well organized, and we have to be able to find it and track it. A lot of these things are exhibited. We rotate a lot of artifacts through. One of the things about if you put artifacts on displays, you're always exposing them to the potential of damage. And some things that's not really a bad thing with, like things that are made of iron and steel, they can do pretty well. But say, for example, coats, textiles, rugs, quilts, if you put them on display under lights for too long, they will fade and they will start breaking down. So we tend to rotate those frequently, because our goal is that when our descendants come and visit the Kentucky Historical Society, that these artifacts will still be here. So we always have to be responsible. One of the things about education is that it's always sort of an act of faith. You never know how long it will reverberate, and how long it will take to go through. But I can tell you that a load of people that work here love museums and work in museums because of something that happened when they were a school kid, where they had a visit, and that love of history and that love of art was kindled by a visit to a museum. So we really hope that we're doing that with school kids around Kentucky, every day. Through museums, you can really touch the past. You can have that past come alive in a way that reading about it might not be able to do. And by seeing the actual artifacts, and we're lucky if we work here, we get to actually touch the artifacts, by seeing those pieces, that really makes that connection vital and alive, and it's not something that's distant, but you're getting closer to it. And I think that's a very powerful thing.